overall, just checking out the truck. A couple things I did notice. One, and I had noticed that it didn't seem like the back edge of this motor plate, because this is where you access the motor, it didn't seem like the back edge of the motor plate was sitting exactly flush, and it doesn't. Towards the very back, there is a very slight like roll or whatever to it, which I think is fine. But what I did notice was that this edge right here was just popped up just a little bit more. I'm just going to pop this off. So these are just 2.5s, 3 of them, 2 in the back, 1 in the front. So with mine, a couple of things. When I had pulled the motor out, and it could have happened just by pulling the actual motor out, was that this little shim was sitting just like that. And I believe, because I don't think it's magnetized, oh, maybe it is. Oh, it's up. It's just barely picking it up right now. So whatever that shim is I think that shim is for here. So I think somehow the shim sits basically on this side of the screw once you put it together, but it's kind of weird because I guess you'd have to have this upside down, and that would have to sit absolutely perfectly. Now looking inside, right there, there's a little bit of an impression right there that looks like maybe a shim was sitting there. So anyways, what had happened was I had debris that was in this channel. So inside this channel right here, there was a little bit of debris that somehow made its way inside. So I did is I just took my driver and basically fished it out. It does seem as though I'm getting fine material beyond this, which I guess is part of the maintenance and cleaning process. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough for me to notice. I'm being, I guess, just different with this truck. But anyways, so that was that. Go ahead and throw this back in. I'm not going to throw those shims back in because I'm not seeing it right now being necessary. I did check the mesh, and the mesh seems fine. So unless for some reason, once I put it back together, I'm not intending on putting this shim back in, or whatever this is. So the other thing too is because they're using a foam, the foam does compress, but it doesn't compress completely, and you do need to have something there to help seal the debris away from getting into that area. So I get it. So go ahead and put this back together. Once it's torqued down, it definitely does feel flatter than it did initially. So after I do that, I am feeling for looseness in all the U-joints. Feels kind of normal. I did go ahead and check the screw right there, and I did check the screw pin right there as well. Things seem fine. I did check the axle. This seems fine. Same thing with the bottom one. I did check the bottom one. On the front end, I am noticing some slop, but it doesn't seem to be affecting the truck. I mean, when you're driving this thing, you're driving it at full speed anyway, and you're just literally just holding on for just a joke, but you're holding on for dear life. So you just basically figure it out. So feeling this and how it is, I know what I'm feeling right now. And when I'm going back and forth, I want to say it's a little over 1/4 of an inch is kind of what I'm seeing as far as movement on the tire. So it's almost pretty close to a 1/2 inch movement is what I think I'm seeing. Also noticing that right there, my DB Pro rim was cracked from it when it was the DB Pro. So I want to access the front differential. I know to do that, I am going to have to take off the 4 screws, so 1, 2, 3, 4 there, and then 2 screws on each side to be able to pull this section off. And there's also a wire underneath that I will have to disconnect. So this video right here is about checking out how easy it is to get to this front differential. Supposedly it's easier than version 1, which I don't have, but I've dealt with vehicles like this, and I want to see if in fact they really did make it easy, how many screws you got to take off, and just kind of figure it out. So I do appreciate this truck, and even working on it right now, I'm actually all right with it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is the 1.5. Very, very small screws. So you got the screw, and then you also have the little like body saver or keeper. All 4 screws are the same, as well as the body saver or keeper. Go after these side screws. Looking underneath, I noticed that it looks like the standoff. So this has body standoffs. Looks like the top standoff is smaller, so I'm assuming that the screw is going to be smaller. So that's the top one. This is the bottom one. And the standoff going into the cage. Yeah, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Once I get this off, I should be able to show you the standoff. So here's the bottom screw. Here's the top screw. You can definitely see that there is a size difference between the two. Now, on the other side, same thing. Go after the bottom one. Now, to pull the body off, I'm just going to pull at the sides. And then kind of like a flip top. You can see that the wire's right here. You want to disconnect the wire. Looks like it's that way. So you can see the underside of the body. This also gives you a good view of the fact that running these tires and wheels, I'm not striking the body. Not that I was striking the body with the original ones on the front, but with the rear I was, and with this slightly smaller tire, it's not hitting. So I think that's a big bonus right there. So you've got like these little standoffs right here. They do come off. All 4 of these are the same. But if you look down here, you can see this standoff is bigger than the one that's right here. So you just got to keep in mind where your standoffs are. And the bigger section faces the body. Smaller section faces the cage, where it gives it support. Alright. So looking at the truck, trying to figure out the best way to go ahead and grab this. So it does look like this brace right there needs to come off. From underneath, looks like those 2 forward screws right there need to pop off, because you can see they come through. And also, possibly looking at this, I think I'm seeing, man, I can't tell. I'm not sure if those 2 screws, I'm not sure if that screw that's right there, I'm not sure if that splits the case, because it's weird as I do see like a division line right there, but I'm not thinking that's what that is. The only negative that I'm seeing is that taking this off, there is a lot of debris that's in there, and I'd want to go ahead and hit this with a air compressor first before I crack open that diff. The top, you can see there's a little bit of weeping of fluid, which is fine. At least I think that's what I'm seeing. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. See a little bit of fluid staining, which is fine. I wanted to check and see how this is looking. Looks like we're doing all right. All right, so pins look like they're in good shape. Losi usually does a really good job with these things. So nothing's perfect, but we are getting some rub. You can see that shiny section right there. That's fine. That's normal. Getting some rub somewhere. Oh, so when it's on full droop, it does get a little bit of rub right there. And then right there, not as much, but there is some. So when it's at full droop, it does hit. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. Okay. So let's go ahead and pop a couple things off. I'm going to take off this front little crash brace thing here first. That's attached to the shock tower right above the gear case housing. So 2 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4. They look like they are a 2.0. Two more screws, one there and one there. Yeah, I'm trying to do this with the minimum amount of... Yeah, see, it's funny. This cross brace is in the way. So this cross brace is in the way. What's going to happen is this hardened driver is going to mar up the screws. So 2 screws from underneath, I'm going to have to go after those. Alright, so 2 screws right here, one there, one there. Going to go ahead and pop those out. Yep, those are definitely going into that case. Okay. There's 2 screws underneath there that could potentially... Yeah, alright, so something that might even be better than that. So on here there's a screw there and a screw there. That, I'm thinking, should release that whole piece. So I can go ahead and put that screw back in. But we'll see. So this screw on this side, and the same thing on the other side. Oh, look at that. Oh, that definitely gets it out of the way. That's way easy now. All right. So that structure is in there, but once it's released, that's easy. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this screw back up, because I can see this whole unit is going to come apart. So this whole piece is literally just going to slide right off. All right, so you can see I've got 1 screw there, down the bottom, down the bottom. I am not sure. I almost feel as though this is going to have to come off. And there's those tiny little Losi clips that are keeping that on. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and take it off first, because I've come across that before. So I'm just going to kind of clean it off. I know I said an air compressor. That would be ideal. But I'm just going to do it like this for now. I'm going to just do it like this for now. Clean it the best I can. On that side where the split case potentially is. Right there. Same thing right there. And I'm going to go after, like I said, 2 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's one here, 2.5. I'm really hoping this is how it's going to work. I'm going to take it fully out. So there's that screw. Same thing on this side, pop that 1 screw. And then 2 screws on the bottom. Okay. Now, pulling this case off. Ah, look at that. Perfect. Okay. So it does come off from the bottom. I didn't need to take off those screws. So it's literally, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not the very bottom screws. I should have tried pulling it off. That's a bad thing right there. Look at all that dirt that was just sitting there waiting to go right into the diff. The diff definitely has some grease in it, but I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more. Yeah, so definitely don't take this diff apart without using an air compressor and getting all the crap that's in there out of there. So I'm going to see if this diff will come out. It's almost as if this needs some compression. Better than if I do compress it. Maybe not. So let's see. So it seems as though might need to pop a spring off. So I'm going to pop off the one spring right there. Okay. Yeah. Got a washer right here. Definitely would be wise, like I was saying, definitely wise, take an air compressor and air compress that thing out, because otherwise you're going to be getting crap everywhere. Pull that off. I'll suspend it with 2. Alright. So now, you should be able to pull that diff out. There we go. Alright, that worked. Nice spiral cut. Deep spiral cut gear. That's why this thing is so quiet. It's got some good separation to it. It's not super tight, but it's also not wicked loose. So, because I do have it, and I said I was going to treat this truck different, I do have this stuff right here. I've got this Utter Butter here. Super waterproof grease. It is designed for differentials. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to put some of this stuff in there. See how this works? I'm just going to give it a little injection in there. Oh, that stuff is so weird. Just a little bit like that. Just going to take the diff, kind of put it back in place. Going to go after the dog bone on one side. And then go after the other one. Set it in. See if I can line it up. There we go. And then settle it right into its spot. Just like that. I'm going to give it a little bit of a spin. A little bit of a spin. Yeah, guy. Spin this. That's just how it's going to work for now. Alright, get that in place. Put the cover back on. Seems like it's in. Yeah, it's in. Okay. These 2 screws in the bottom did not need to come out, so I'm going to go ahead and just toss those back in there. Okay. Go after the 2 top screws. Go ahead and put the shock back in place. Now I'm going to slide the bracket or the bumper kind of thing here back in place. 2 screws up top. Those are these little short ones. Install these side screws. Oh, I didn't put the washer on for the shock. Don't forget to put on your safety washer. Now underneath, we just have these 2 screws right here. These are the long ones with the tapered head or countersink. All right, make sure that this bumper piece is all the way in. Now, while I'm here, I'm just going to check these 2. I'm sure they're fine, but oh, it did take a little tweak. Both of them took the slightest amount of a tweak. Go ahead and check this lower one. That was a tweak. Check this one. Little tweak. All right. These are looking fine. I'll flip this truck back over. Go ahead and go after the body here. So make sure I grab that wire. Plug that in. Just line up red to black, black to red. Otherwise it's not going to work. And there we go. Put the body on. So you have to slide this in between the shell. So if you see right there, you pull the shell out, and then you slide this in. Like that. And remember, the bottom one was the longer screw. And it's not 2.0 guy, it's a 1.5. Wonder why I wasn't going in. Shorter one up top. Almost think I made this one go in too far. That's fine. Just pull this section of body out and then slide it in between, just like that. And you can see it lines up. And then we've got the 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the top. Now I'm noticing it's slightly off, so I'm just going to give the body a little bit of a pull, just to align the first one. And hopefully what that will do is line up the other ones. There we go. Perfect. And that's it. The only thing we have left over are those 2 little shims that came from the motor. So there we go. So front end is pretty much checked out and serviced. Honestly, everything on this thing looks fine. I've only got 4 packs through it right now. The other thing I wanted to show you was in the camera footage. In the camera footage, check it out. There's a jack handle. So I had noticed when I was setting up a camera, and I don't know if anybody caught it, when I was setting up a camera, I realized that the jack handle was right here. And it just kind of blends in, but when you see it's got this little piece right there that sticks into that hole, that right there is the jack handle. So that's the jack handle. And then underneath the truck, accessing the battery door. In order to run a 3S pack, you got to go ahead and pop this screw. So, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So inside this truck, you've got this little flap right here, right? So open that up, and it's got this little I guess you want to call it like a blockade thing right there. See that? So this little piece right here is basically what keeps a 2S pack kind of stuffed in there. Well, all you have to do is just take out this screw right here. See? So you take this screw out right here. Pause up the little screw. Then you can go ahead and slide out this piece of plastic that you kind of don't really need. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of keep this together that way it doesn't get lost. It does leave an open hole, but it really doesn't matter, dude, because there's open holes all over this thing, so it's not like it's a sealed surface. This is kind of wide open because obviously that's where the motor and heatsink is. I think this thing might need a fan. The good thing is I'll be able to reach my hand right in there next time I take this thing out for a run, and I'll be able to feel whether if I'm getting some heat in there or not. I suspect I'm not. Accessing the drive shaft screws, very easy. It's a 2.0 right there. I already did check that. That's tight. And then the same thing here. You can see the other side of the pin. Same thing right there. There's a screw right there. Checking the universal pins feels fine. It does have the movement that I expect. And it is a plastic or a, like a, not carbon, composite. So it's got a composite slider drive shaft. So same thing here. I expect that kind of play. So looking at the truck overall, the truck is looking great. Like I was saying, these shocks here, these slave shocks, I call them. So these slave shocks right here, I'm going to take a paper towel and I'm just going to clean them off. Just going like this. And what's happening is that just from actuation, the dust is sticking to the fluid. So, and it's doing the same thing on this side. I'm gonna leave the I'm gonna leave this one alone. I think I would have to take the shock off, but using an air compressor, nice and easy, you could blow all that debris on there off, and you can see the same thing on this one right here. That one's got a little bit of stuff on it as well. Go ahead and get in there, kind of clean that off. Air compressor will be beautiful for cleaning all this crap off. So overall, man, this truck is, overall, this is the kind of RC that I like working on because it takes a little bit. It takes a little bit to get into it. You got to basically take the hood off. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's things about this truck that I really like. I genuinely do like working on things when it takes a little bit to work on, if you get my meaning. Nothing's too hard. It's just, the other thing that I noticed was the dust is getting past these little light shields here. So I am going to have to pop off all of these light shields and see if I can clean that out and see what's going on there. It's probably just because of, you know, rolling over and hitting and some of the dust and stuff just getting in there just because it's a fine dust. So anyways, RC Guy Garage, hopefully you enjoyed that little episode here of just servicing and getting to the front end. It's very easy. It's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's only 8 screws. 8 screws and 1 nut to go ahead and get to that center diff. So it looked pretty good inside. Again, like I said, I switched over to these tires and wheels because I like the aggressive traction that these tires are giving it. So these are the Falcon, what are they called? Falcon Wild Peak MTs. They just have a better tread pattern. They are smaller. You can see it's not by a huge amount, but they are wider. And I'm also not getting any rub. So when this thing kind of comes down, I'm not getting, well, I might get a little bit of rub right there, but nothing so far in the back. I'm happy with that. I think it looks great. I do believe that the Losi TT has these same exact tires and wheels, just in the brushed aluminum kind of look. And I'm seeing if I can go ahead and grab a set of those just to kind of finish it off. I mean, I like this, but this brown right here, or this dark color, that's from me using a blowtorch. Because on my DB Pro, I used Loctite, and I, for the life of me, could not break free the nut, so I had to blowtorch the centers. So that's why it looks like that. Kind of almost like a s'more, you know, not a s'more, the other thing there. It's not space. The things that look like this, the marshmallows, the things that look like this. Yeah, the marshmallows when you cook them on an open fire. So I'm actually tired, man. So, anyways, RC Guy Garage. Working on the Eisenhower Losi Baja Ray. I absolutely love this truck, man. If this is the way you like to drive, I definitely recommend go ahead and getting either this or the other thing there, the Ford Raptor. I'm liking this truck, man. The Ford Raptor's great too, but I definitely do like the styling of this truck. Oh, and to stop the movement and chatter. So to stop the chatter, what you could do is take a strip of weather stripping and stick it underneath, foam weather strip. Just get it at your local big box store. Stick it underneath and it will help reduce the chatter. So when the thing is kind of like going, it does have a tendency to kind of make a little bit of noise like that, but usually the thing's so far away from you, you can't hear it anyway. That's what I call being a wine bag. So anyways, I'm not out right now, just working on this thing. What about you? What are you working on?